Everyone, and welcome to this webinar on parenting the equestrian athlete with me, Charlotte Christopher. So I've given this webinar a bit of a subtitle, which is Success and Thriving Within Sport. So day to day, I have three roles. I'm a coach, I'm a sports psych, and I'm also a mum. And like with most of you, I'm sure, we all want our children to succeed. We all want our children to progress and improve. However, the other side of sport, which I think we're all starting to gain much stronger appreciation of in recent years, is the importance of thriving within sport. So when it comes to physical activity, the advantages of physical activity are vast, be it through the health benefits and in factors such as cognition and memory, focus, behaviour. But what I wanted to look a little bit at today was what can sports teach our children? So first of all, sport teaches our children to be resilient. It teaches our children how to cope with setbacks, mistakes and challenges. It teaches our children discipline and responsibility, so the value of preparation, effort and following through. It teaches our children teamwork and empathy. So even in the individual sports, of course, equestrian does tend to be more individual sports. Children can develop an awareness of others, cooperation and respect for their teammates, for their coaches, and of course in equestrian sports, their horse. It can teach them confidence and self-belief, achieving goals big or small, building that inner trust. It teaches them how to handle pressure, so learning to perform under stress, which translates directly into things such as exams and careers and future life challenges. And finally, it teaches them joy in growth. So sport teaches them that improvement comes from persistence and not from perfection. So I just wanted to flag up here Erikson's psychological stages. So Erikson proposed that throughout our lives, we go through different stages. And in each of these stages, we start to develop beliefs and understandings about ourselves, the world around us, and our role within the world. So in particular, I wanted to highlight the stages where sports participation is perhaps most common, which is from 6 years to adolescence, so up through to adulthood. So between 6 and 11 years, this is the stage that Erikson referred to as industrial versus inferiority. So at this stage, children learn to be valued and made to feel competent by adults and peers. Otherwise, they develop feelings of inferiority. And then secondly, adolescence. So adolescence was classified by identity versus role confusion. So adolescents establish a sense of personal identity in which their social group, or they become confused about who they are and what they want to do with their lives. So kind of in summary, really, what I'm trying to say here is this period of sports participation, while children are participating in sport, they're starting to develop beliefs around who they are, their capabilities, and where they sit in the world. So this is, in terms of development, this is a really, really vital stage. So what kind of parent are you? So the parental involvement continuum kind of classify parents into three stages. So first of all, we have the under-involvement. So this is the disinterested parent or the misinformed parent. So this is the parent that kind of sits in their car on their phone and doesn't watch their children's lessons and isn't really interested. Now, at the opposite end of the scale, we have the over-involved parent. So this is the over-excitable parent or the fanatical parent. So this is the one that sort of interrupts the coach and tries to get involved in the lessons and argues with the judge or argues with the steward. And then in the middle, we have the comfort zone. So this is the moderate involvement. So what roles do we play as parents? So first of all, we're providers. So we provide tangible information and emotional support. So tangible information such as booking lessons or working out the best route to a competition, or booking in the farrier, and booking in for the horse to have his teeth done, its saddle checked, but also emotional support. So we provide support regardless of how the competition went or how they feel in the run up to a competition. It's our role to provide emotional support. So secondly, they're interpreters. So we help children to react positively to wins and losses, and we encourage good sportspersonship. So basically, we teach our children how they should respond if they win or if things don't go so well. And finally, we're role models. So we encourage sport participation. We teach our children that sport and exercise is valuable, maintaining composure at competitions. So, if things don't go well, not externalizing blame, not going and say, the judge obviously was biased, and the judge obviously doesn't like thoroughbreds, or the judge doesn't like collies, So allowing the child to have accountability, but in a very positive way, and valuing effort over outcome. So again, showing a child that actually what really matters is the effort they've put in. They're not validated by success. So en route to competition. So in the car on the way to competition, first of all, really important that we create a calm and positive environment. We offer reassurance, not strategy. So this is not the time to be going over lots of technical cues for a few reasons. Firstly, sometimes the child has to take the lead, so some children might want to talk more, some children might want to talk less. But from a psychological perspective, actually, when it comes to performance, what a lot of people don't understand is the brain that you use in practice, in training, is different to the brain you use when you're competing. And actually, when you're competing, as the sports psychologist Bob Rotella says, you should train it, then trust it. So when you're competing, actually, you don't want to be consciously thinking about what you're doing. So actually, sort of yelling instructions from the sidelines isn't actually very helpful. And lastly, listen more than you talk. So allow your child to kind of dictate the conversation, allow them to talk to you. Don't be sort of, if they're feeling a little bit stressed and overwhelmed, they don't want to be bombarded with conversation. And then after the competition, on the way home, so allow them to experience negative emotions. So this is something I find as a sports psych, that people kind of expect me to be always teaching people how to be positive, and we should never have negative emotions. We should only always ever be positive. And the reality is actually negative emotions are completely natural and normal and healthy. There's nothing wrong with that. What makes the difference around negative emotions is if they impact our behavior in a negative way. So it's okay for a child to say, oh, I'm just really gutted. I'm really disappointed that dressage test didn't go really well. I know I can do better. I feel a bit disappointed. That's okay. Allow them, support them, understand and allow them to have that disappointment. But what we don't want is the child to say, I'm really disappointed, therefore I don't think I'm good enough, therefore I will not compete again in the future. Offer support, not technical critique. So even if you are have a role in coaching your child, this is not the time for critique. So again, when you're moving away, either it's time to let them be happy and celebrate, or time to just let them process disappointment. But it is not the time to sit them down and say, you did this wrong and you did this wrong and you need to improve on this. That can come at a later date. Let them lead the conversation. So again, everybody differs, so allow them to lead the conversation. And most importantly, tell them you are proud of them and that you recognise the effort. And this is so important, that again, as I said earlier, children should not feel that they're only validated through success. They should not feel that your affection relies on the fact that they win the medal or get the rosette. So this is just something I wanted to include here along these same lines. So this is actually something that comes from educational psychology rather than sports psychology, but I just really like it, and I think it's really valid here. And this is the concept of the hidden curriculum. So the hidden curriculum refers to the unspoken or implicit lessons, values, and expectations that individuals learn through participation in a setting beyond the formal curriculum or explicit instruction. So we might think, if we think about learning in terms of equestrian sports, we might think about the child learning how to ride a good centre line or learning how to see a stride into a fence. But actually, both as parents and as coaches or even peers, there's a whole lot of other learning that the rider is doing. The rider is learning things about their self-worth, about their attitudes, how they should process failure, how they should move forward from a poor result, how they should process their wins, how they should evaluate themselves moving forward. So there's a whole lot of stuff that we teach our children that we're not really aware that we're teaching them. And that's why I think it's really important that we just kind of have this in our awareness, that the things that we say, just the passing comments, are actually having a massive impact on their self-concept, what they feel about themselves, and therefore the belief systems they're going to take on into the future, into their adult life, be it choices around university, career, relationships. So this, for me, is why this is just such an important subject. So I wanted now just to kind of highlight, there's a few different theories around, the impact of mindset in terms of sporting participation. I think perhaps one of my favourite ones is the work by someone called Carol Dweck, who coined the terms growth and fixed mindset. So this might be something you've come across in the past. She wrote a fantastic book called Mindset, which I really recommend. So basically, Carol Dweck proposed that we had two different kinds of mindset. So we have growth mindset and we have fixed mindset. So growth mindset is the belief that abilities, skills, and intelligence can be developed through effort, learning, and persistence. Athletes with a growth mindset see challenges and mistakes as opportunities to improve rather than signs of failure. They are more likely to embrace feedback, show resilience under pressure, and stay motivated during setbacks. So the child that has a growth mindset will have an appreciation that a polished performance is the outcome of a lot of hard work and perseverance. And they're going to have an appreciation that it's okay to make mistakes, because ultimately, if to be able to progress, you have to push yourself outside your comfort zone, and therefore you are going to trip up, you are going to struggle, and that's absolutely okay, because that's all part of the process. Now, a fixed mindset, in contrast, a fixed mindset is the belief that abilities, intelligence, and talent are set traits that cannot be changed. Athletes with a fixed mindset often view mistakes as evidence of personal failure rather than opportunities to learn. They may avoid challenges, feel threatened by others' success, and become overly focused, improving themselves rather than improving. This can lead to fear of failure, reduced resilience, and loss of motivation when things get difficult. So where we see this is, often when you have young riders and they get a label for being talented. Someone says, "Oh, she's got this pony. She's super talented. Oh, she's so talented. She's amazing to watch. She's got a God-given talent." And the problem is, if you give the child that label that they are talented, that feels very fragile. So when they then need to move up and progress into a hard level, and they have that transition upward, either onto a different horse or into a different level or riding against adults, they're going to fear that they're going to lose that talent label. They're going to lose that identity as the talented rider. And therefore, that's going to make them reluctant to step forward and take on those challenges. They're going to want to stay within their comfort zone. So I wanted here, and this is in her book Mindset, Carol Dweck's book on mindset. Carol Dweck did huge amounts of study into these different mindsets, and I think this is my favourite one. So Carol Dweck took on 128 fifth grade children, so that's been about 10, 11 years old, and she asked them to complete a set of non-verbal IQ puzzles. So after completing the first set, the children were randomly assigned to one or two types of praise. So for one group, they said, "You must be really smart at this." So that's what they coined the intelligence praise group. And the other half, they said, you must have worked really hard at this. So this is the group that they class as the effort praise group. So then the children were asked to choose between taking on a harder puzzle or an easier puzzle. So 67% of the effort praised children, so the ones that were praised for working hard, they chose the harder puzzles, whereas 67% of the intelligence praised children, so these were like the talented children, they opted to choose the easier puzzles. So the intelligence praised children, they didn't want to lose that label of being talented, being intelligent, whereas the effort praised children, they felt that their identity was tied in having a go and putting effort in and being challenged. So then later, all the children attempted a very difficult set of puzzles. So they then gave them a set of puzzles that was almost impossible. Now they found that the children that they praised for effort, they persevered, they worked longer, they showed greater resilience. Whereas the intelligence praised children, they gave up, they became frustrated and gave up much more quickly. So finally, they then gave the children another set of puzzles at the same level as they did at the beginning of the experiment. And they found that the effort praised children, their scores improved by 30%, whereas the intelligence praised children, their scores declined by 20%. So this shows that, adopting a growth mindset it is partly about well-being. That's obviously really important, but actually it's about giving children the confidence to actually step outside their comfort zone and take risks. So this is why it's really important that we motivate through encouragement and not through fear and shame. So here's a few phrases around what we can, positive phrases to say that encourage a growth mindset. Your hard work's really paying off. You showed real resilience today. You haven't mastered it yet, but you're getting closer. I think Carol Dweck does this really great TED talk around changing exam results to, rather than saying fail, saying not yet, which I think is wonderful. So she say, you haven't achieved that level yet, but that doesn't mean you won't in the future. You worked really hard today. Mistakes are part of the learning process. So again, normalizing making mistakes. It's okay to make mistakes. It just means you're pushing yourself outside your comfort zone. I'm really proud of how you took on that challenge. So here's a few things not to say. You either have it or you don't. Yeah, she's really talented. He's not very talented. You're a natural at this. There's no point in trying if you're going to fail. Don't worry, maybe this sport isn't for you. Be careful, don't make any mistakes. And winning is what matters. So I want to conclude this webinar with a video. It's off the website ilovetowatchyouplay.com, which I really recommend you checking out. There's some really great stuff on there. But I'm just going to conclude by running through this video. Well, if my internet decides to work, I have terrible internet. Here we are.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right, you guys ready? I prefer that my parents, if I play bad, don't say anything. And if I play well, it doesn't really matter if they compliment me on how I play. I just I don't know, I prefer my parents to, not talk as much. I can hear them cheering me on, and I'm thinking in my head, just trying to focus. Mom yells in Spanish. Go, go, go! My mom usually says, use the backboard. You should use the backboard. I get angry because it annoys me. I'm kind of embarrassed. She tells me to get in the position that my coach told me not to get in. I'm like, well, no. And then she's like, get in your position. I'm like, no. I get a little tense when I have a certain score to get, and she's like, you've got to get that whatever score. And I'm like, I don't like it when they try to push me.
even more, even though I'm trying really, really hard. Coming from the coach's mouth is kind of better, I feel like, because your parents are there to support you and your coach is there to help you, you know? You just start screaming, Valentina, run faster, make a basket. But I just start going to the lower every time when she says that. The other people were like, wow, that mom is like really wanting her kid to win. In my inside, you can't see it, but I'm inside saying, be quiet, be quiet. Sometimes I just look into space. I try to listen to them and then do what they say to like, so they don't start yelling again. I don't really want them to give me that much advice because then I might forget it all. Sometimes I get nervous when they yell and nobody else is yelling. Sometimes it can embarrass me, like a lot. Wait. What's going on? We're just trying to do this, but you want us to try harder? Well, I am. I'm not going into a game not trying my hardest. That'd be like messed up. Yeah, it's a lot of pressure. Sometimes when they try to get the ball in basketball, you kind of think in your head that they're kind of like gonna push you and you're gonna fall and hurt yourself. They don't need to like always be like telling me what to do like every minute of the game. They kind of just gotta let me play. I love when you say it like really nice. I got it, Mom. I'd like to look back and I'd like to see you like smile or like give me a thumbs up. Mom, I wish you would be a little bit quieter. Say like you play good and like you can get them next time. When they smile and say like good job. Mom and Dad, thank you for loving me. I love being my supporter. When I'm upset, my mom and dad cheer me up. Sometimes I forget about all the work that they do for me. Be my biggest fan. I need big hugs. I love the snacks for you bring me. It makes me happy when you always encourage me. Thank you, Mom and Dad. Please just be my mom and dad. Yep, that's it. Oh.
So yeah, I love that video. I think it's lovely. So thank you very much for listening. That brings us short but sweet webinar to a close. I'd love to hear from you if you have any questions or you have any comments or you want to talk about your experiences. I'd love to hear about it. I think it's it's always great hearing about people's thoughts, and that's kind of discussion I feel is where we do our best learning. So feel free to get in touch, and I look forward to seeing you all again soon.